Some of y'all in there now trying to pack your suitcase for homecoming, feeling all self-conscious and shit because you don't look the way you should have looked or whatever. I've been trying to tell y'all ass to buy the T, the NutriBurst, and the NRG for the last 10 years, but you didn't want to hear me, Nessa girl. Christmas is coming up. Drop down in the description box and click the link. Hopefully, girl, you'll be looking good by the next homecoming. Bye. There's something on my mind. Sing to me. I can't hold it in any longer. Y'all, the conversation that we are about to have has been brewing in my mind for a very long time. And last night's premiere episode of Insecure, coupled with the fact that it is homecoming weeks in Tallahassee, FSU last week, FAMU this week, it really made me feel like this was the time to have this conversation about HBCUs versus PWIs, and somehow or another all the smoke that these HBCU grads seem to now want with people who have gone to PWIs. And contrary to popular belief, everybody that went to a predominantly white institution does not have issues with self-hate or anti-black, look down on HBCUs, so on and so forth. And that's the conversation that we're getting ready to have. Want to talk about it? Here it goes. So Nessa girl, we cannot deny that over the last couple of years or so, with the help of social media, Beyonce, Black Lives Matter, and just the evolution of our society, that there has been this momentum behind black people enrolling in historically black colleges and universities, HBCUs, for those of my viewers who does not know what that means. And I cannot applaud this effort anymore and say that this is absolutely great. This is 100% a good thing. The people that saying enrollment is up at HBCUs. Every time you look across social media, everybody that's rich, famous on reality TV, their kids are showing acceptance letters to HBCUs, and HBCUs are getting the shine that they freaking deserve. I'm going to go out on a limb and say when I was I went away to college in 2001. I was in college from '01 to '05. I would like to say that I honestly wish this same momentum surrounding HBCUs existed at said time, because perhaps it would have persuaded me to go to a HBCU. But the story that I want to talk about, the conversation that I want to have, and what I want to tell y'all is that there are lots of reasons why black people do not attend historically black colleges and universities that have nothing to do with hate, self-hate, nothing to do with thinking that they're better than, and nothing to do with anything negative as it results to being anti-black. There are some people like myself who, for what I was going through at that time, needed an environment that was non-black. And so we're going to talk about it. So the first student that I want to talk about is myself. I come from Miami, Florida. And anybody that is black, that's born and bred in Miami, Florida, will tell you that Miami is not a professional city for black people. If you were not one of those Jack and Jill blacks, if you didn't grow up at the upper crust of the black community in Miami, Florida, you probably don't know many degree professionals. It's embarrassing for me to say, but growing up, with the exception of my father, who had employment that did not require a college degree, my father was a correctional officer. The only people that I had ever known in my 18 years of life who were college educated were my school teachers. I did not grow up knowing any accountants, marketing professionals, lawyers, doctors, Indian chiefs, or anything of the sort. That being said, I did not grow up in an environment where there was a lot of college talk, where there was a lot of HBCU talk, where there was a lot of Greek sorority and fraternity talk. I did not grow up in that environment. I knew absolutely nothing about nothing when it came to college. And whose fault that is, I do not know. Do y'all want to know how I chose Florida State University? I chose to go to Florida State University because during my adolescent years, I hated my parents. We did not get along. I couldn't fucking stand my mama, and I hated my daddy even worse. I looked at the map. The only criteria my daddy gave me for going to college was I could not go out of state. I literally did no research. I didn't know what the hell Florida State offered. All I knew is that it was the furthest thing away from Miami, Florida, and Florida State sounded good, and that is why I went there. Coupled with the fact, being non-educated about HBCUs, and again, I don't know whose fault that was in 2001. It damn sure wasn't mine, because you don't know what you don't know. But being uneducated about HBCUs in 2001, I do vividly remember the upperclassmen coming back from Tallahassee, coming back to the school to talk to us. And of course, bad news spreads faster than good news. So you had them coming back talking about their dorm living, their problems with getting their financial aid on time, having to stand in the gymnasium and register for classes. And then you had the group of students that went to the FSUs and the USFs and the UFs, and they were not having these conversations. Now listen, all of this is pure ignorance on my part, okay? I will gladly state that I was uneducated about all of this. But in my ignorance, I was smart enough to realize nice dorm versus bad dorm, financial aid on time versus not financial aid on time. This seems to be the better option for my life. That's just surface level. As I've gotten older, and I'm going to say in recent years, I have come to understand something about my particular life that has been very eye-opening. Growing up in the inner city, being the awkward black gay boy, through therapy and through becoming an adult, I realized that in my childhood, I was extremely traumatized by black people, black men in particular. Black men in particular. And looking back at it, I don't know if it was conscious or not, but subconsciously I knew I didn't want to be around them. I knew I didn't feel safe. I knew I didn't want to be around them. I knew the students from my high school that had gone away to FAMU, and it was the same students that picked on me in the hallways or tried to beat me up or bullied me. And I knew that I did not want to be around them. So for my life, for my development, and for where I was in my mental at that time, the decision that I made for my education was the best for me in my life, and nobody's going to make me think otherwise. Now, here's the thing. Here is what I don't like in this push for HBCUs. I don't like the divisiveness, right? And I know that many people could argue for years that black students that went to PWIs thought that they were better than black students that went to HBCUs. And I can honestly say there is a lot of truth to that because I've witnessed it. You know what I'm saying? Being at Florida State, I have heard the conversations, and there have been times that I have been part of those conversations where, you know, certain aspects of your life, you thought that you had a step up above of those people because they were at this school and you were at this school. And yes, there was a certain anti-black sentiment that undergirded that or whatever. But you know what? That's what college is for. That is what learning, that is what growing, that is what your 20s is for. And I can be the first person at 38 years old to now denounce that way of thinking, denounce some of the things that have come out of my mouth, and recognize the fact that a lot of that came from ignorance and lack of education. But again, what we are not going to do is sow division and shade any black person for going to a PWI, especially considering the fact that we live in a world that constantly tells black people that they are nothing and ain't shit every day. I don't give a good goddamn if you went to Bethune, FAM, Elizabeth College, Grambling State, Florida State, UF, or you got your degree from the University of Phoenix. The first goddamn thing we're going to do is applaud black people for getting higher education, period. Because the fact of the matter is, when you apply for that job on Indeed.com and it says 2 years experience and bachelor's degree in human resources, it don't give a damn where you got it from. So let's just put that on the table. But I will say this. I will be the first person to admit that now that I'm more seasoned, now that I am more worldly, now that I am more educated about HBCUs, I do regret not going to one. I do regret not going to one. I don't regret my college experience. I had an amazing college experience that I'm sure will rival any experience that HBCU students had. But now, as an alumni of Florida State, I looked at the Instagram pictures and Facebook pictures of our homecoming last week, y'all, and that thing was pathetic, honey. Miss Girl was pathetic. There's a few faces I recognize, and what tends to happen at PWI homecomings is you've got the overall white school homecoming, and then you've got the black students that were active in Greek life, Black Student Union at SGA. There's a little carve out, and we go play in the corner over here. And that's a reflection of the white corporate world. You know what I'm saying? This is our big white company, but we got a table in the lunchroom for the blacks over here. And the black people tend to do their own thing over there. We create a black space in a white space. And many people will argue that black people are the only people who go to a PWI and have to create a black student union when they could have just taken their ass to a HBCU, which is one big black student union. And I do agree with that sentiment. Again, many of us not know what we were doing at 16, 17 years old of age when we went away to college. Nevertheless, we had a great experience. Now, one thing that I do envy is, like, I've always, even at the time that I was at Florida State, I have always envied FAMU's homecoming. And I have always slid my ass over to FAMU's homecoming, baby, to get me some fried fish off the side of the street, to get me a lemonade or a fruit punch, to hear the band play, baby. Let me tell you something. The bands at white schools are just complete trash. I'll never forget the year I was there. The drum line broke off and tried to do some HBCU shit during the middle of their damn halftime show, and they ass got suspended because just the white people didn't understand it and the band coach wasn't having it. Nevertheless, I will say this though, and I don't know if I can speak as intelligently about curriculum at a HBCU because I never have gone to one. I've never attended a class at one. But I will say the things that I feel that I missed out on, the things that I am envious of, are all social in nature. I'm smart enough to understand that a book is a book. And you're not going to convince me that there is some secret in the Rand McNally Publishing House book that they get over at the HBCUs, that same information is not in the book that's at the damn PWI. You see what I'm saying? A book is a damn book. So I'm willing to venture to think that the education from an academic perspective are on par with one another. But I've always heard my black friends tell me that the nurturing that they get at the HBCUs and that the understanding that they get from their teachers surrounding their life circumstances is what got them through. And I can definitely say that that's something that we did not get at a PWI. We were just a number in a classroom. And at many times we were just a nuisance. I've got this one good friend that went to Morehouse who shared a story about he had some life circumstances that required him to drop out of school and go back home. and that there was just one lady in the office, the registrar office, the financial aid office, whichever office it was. And he said that every semester that this woman sent him a postcard, a handwritten postcard or whatever, and it was a result of this woman following up with him that he re-enrolled in Morehouse and subsequently went on to law school and became the person that he is. I can definitely tell you that type of shit definitely wouldn't have happened at no black school at Florida State University. Now, we did have similar situations within the black ecosystems that we created. We had a student government administrator named Miss Maddie, and her boss was Miss Avella Gaskins Monroe, for those who went to Florida State and know them. And they were our moms away from home. They were our, Debbie Allens and Felicia Rashad that spent time with us and gave us what we needed because they recognized what we were facing on this all-white campus. So, for those who try to act as if black students don't get a black experience at PWIs, that simply is false, all right? Now, granted, it don't rival what y'all have at y'all HBCUs, and I'm not trying to say it does. But to suggest that we don't get a black experience, it's completely false. When I attended Florida State University, there we had a population of 38,000 students, and of that, I think 10%, 12% were white. Of course, we had our Divine Nine organizations. We had our BSU. We had our SGA. And in black people, we dominated all of that. We created our own little world. We went over there and played with FAMU students, so on and so forth. But I want to get back to the topic of this video, right? And I want to get back, and I want to speak to this sentiment that there is something intrinsically wrong with the black person that goes to a PWI. That's simply false. There are thousands of reasons that people go to the schools that they go to. I can think about a friend of mine, a very close friend of mine right now. Her mother was a charter member of the Delta Sigma Theta chapter at Florida State University. They now live in Fort Lauderdale. I don't care how you slice it and dice it. That's a huge deal. That is a huge deal. That this black woman back during her time, her and her line sisters founded a D9 organization at FSU. Was she wrong for wanting her daughter to go to FSU and be a member of the chapter that she helped found? I don't see nothing wrong with that. What if said HBCU does not offer the program that you need and your parents don't have the ability to send you out of state to another one? I have a lot of friends, and I'll be the first person to admit the second acceptance letter that I got was from FAMU. My first one was from the University of South Florida. Second one was from FAMU. Third one was from FSU. Fourth was from UF, and then Flomo and Bethune rolled in. I looked at the financial aid packages. A lot of my friends tell me this particular school gave them more money than the other. That's a factor for a poor black kid from wherever the hell they from. I look at friends that went to Morehouse and Spelman. Great prestigious schools. Also private schools. They are in so much student loan debt right now. You know what I'm saying? Not to say that that's good, bad, or indifferent, but there is a whole host and cocktail of reasons why people choose the educational route that they choose, and all of it does not involve being anti-black or thinking that you're better than, or whatever the case may be. And what I will not do is be railroaded or browbeaten into not celebrating going to a PWI and celebrating my alma mater simply because we've now got this HBCU momentum. I can be proud of the momentum and be proud of my FSU education. You see what I'm saying? Now, I did see a lot of y'all out there talking about the current situation at Howard. The students are out there protesting about the dorm conditions and the dorm conditions not being the best living conditions. I completely do not agree with using that as an excuse to bash a historically black college or university. I don't. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's a reason for you to be like, see, that's why I want to go to no HBCU. Because if you're the person that will do that, you are already looking for a reason to look down on that institution. We are not going to let one or two raggedy buildings on Howard University completely undermine what Howard has been to the black community and what Howard will continue to be in its present standing. Let's make an allowance for the fact that Howard is a very old institution. And old institutions are going to hold old buildings. Now, I am going to say this, and this don't have anything to do with color. When I went to Florida State University and got my degree in economics, then people ain't teach me nothing about construction and the lifespan of a building. They didn't. I can trend, I can graph, I can forecast. What I do know is that buildings don't get dilapidated overnight. What I do know is that roofs don't develop holes in them overnight. What I do know is that rodent and insect infestations don't happen overnight. And whoever was over the grounds department over at Howard, their head needs to roll, because this is a situation that just should not have happened. Howard is not Morris Brown. Howard is not some of these smaller, struggling HBCUs. I don't know what the budget is. I don't know what's going on, but I do know that there's enough education. There's enough engineering school students at that school. There is enough resources coming through that DC area that this should not have happened. And this is not unique to Howard. This is not a read to Howard. This is a read to any institution, any building, any shopping mall, any 7-Eleven, where management sits back and just lets the building deteriorate because they choose to funnel the money elsewhere. As it relates to that building, Howard needs to be ashamed of their goddamn self. And because we are supposed to be the pinnacle of black excellence, Howard, y'all ass need to do better. What we also not going to do is pretend like because you're black, you're above reproach and you can't get read for mismanagement. And there has been some mismanagement over there at that grounds department. But guess what? Mismanagement happens everywhere. Mismanagement happens at white schools. Mismanagement happens at black schools. If you went to Florida State University when I was there, you know about Smith and Kellum Hall, baby, and them garbage cans in the hallway and them garbage cans in the auditorium room when it leaked. So it happens everywhere. We're not going to use that as a reason to read Howard, but black people understanding our public relations in this society, and that people are always looking for an excuse to shade us or make an excuse as to why we're subpar. Just from a PR perspective, Howard should have made sure the shit didn't happen, and I stand by that. Nevertheless, y'all, if I had kids right now, I'm not going to lie to you, I would send them, I would definitely encourage them to go to a historically black college or university, especially if said university fit within the parameters of where their life was trying to go. The only argument that I wanted to make in this video is that we as black people, I wish we would just stop letting the vestiges of slavery get the best of us. I think it's an amazing feat if you become a lawyer and you got your degree from the FAMU School of Law. I think it's an amazing feat if you become a lawyer and you got your degree from the University of Florida. Because at the end of the day, you are a black attorney doing the work of black people, adding to the advancement of our people. I chose to take I-95, you chose to take I-75, but the result of the situation is we both ended up in the same place. Let's learn to celebrate that. I think black students that have attended PWIs, they need to make it a point to support those that go to HBCUs and not speak down on them. And those that go to HBCUs need to make it a point to stop sowing division and make it seem like there's something wrong with us because we went to PWIs. Not every person that went to the PWI thinks they're better than you. We just had a different set of life circumstances that put us in that direction. And you had a different set of life circumstances. Listen, y'all, I wish I came from a lineage. I wish my daddy was an alpha and my mama was a FAMU, AKA, and I went to FAMU and continued the family legacy. That's just not my story. That's not my story. That's not how my life shook out. But I'm not somehow less than because I went to PWI. Because truth be told, I'm an alpha that went to a PWI, and look around, girl, my life is lit. And my life is lit in the name of black people. All my content is black. I work for Fox Soul. I've occupied black media spaces in media. And so, you know, let's just grow to celebrate higher education as a whole. And let's stop it with the divisive talk from both ends of the spectrum, because there's enough in this country that's already dividing us. That's all I got. Ain't got no more. Y'all be sure to like and subscribe if you're new to my channel. And we'll talk a little later. Bye.